Welcome back to Bible Storybook, where we explore the lives of the people God used and the lessons they still whisper to us today. Today, we journey into the fading twilight of a man whose life began with breathtaking promise but ended under a shadow he created himself. This is the story of the last days of King Solomon. Solomon's early years were marked by brilliance. He built a kingdom that shone like polished gold, expanded Israel's borders, and earned a reputation that echoed across seas. But as he aged, the clarity of his devotion blurred. What began as a pure desire to honor God slowly shifted into a hunger for wealth, status, and relationships that drew his heart in too many directions. By the time Solomon was old, Scripture says something heartbreaking. His wives turned his heart after other gods. The man who once asked for wisdom drifted into a life where wisdom no longer guided him. I believe this is one of the most tragic turns in biblical history, not because Solomon fell, but because he fell slowly, quietly, and almost unnoticeably, the way many of us do when we stop guarding our hearts. As the years pressed on, Jerusalem was still magnificent, but the king who designed it felt hollow inside. The weight of compromise always catches up, and for Solomon, it arrived in the form of divine warning. God told him that the kingdom he had built would be torn apart, not in his lifetime, but through his son. Imagine carrying that message in your chest as an old man. Every sunrise would feel like a reminder of what could have been. In his final days, Solomon was surrounded by luxury, yet I don't think he felt rich. The splendor of his palace couldn't cover the truth. The greatest kingdom he ever lost was his own heart. And in that realization, something inside him broke open. That's why many scholars believe he wrote Ecclesiastes near the end of his life. Listen to its tone, raw, reflective, heavy with regret, and painfully honest. Meaningless, meaningless. Those are not the words of a proud king. Those are the words of a man looking back at all he achieved and realizing that without God, it all slips away like vapor. Yet, even in his regret, Solomon left us a final gift. He concluded that after everything he had tasted, gathered, and tried, only one thing remains: fear God and keep his commandments. To me, that sentence is worth more than everything Solomon ever built. When the old king finally closed his eyes, he died in the city he had shaped with his own hands. But his legacy became a warning as much as a lesson. His son Rehoboam inherited a crown fractured by his father's disobedience, and soon after, the kingdom split in two, exactly as God had said. Solomon's last days remind us that spiritual drift doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it begins with one small compromise, then another, until suddenly the gap between us and God is a canyon. But his story also reminds us that reflection, even late in life, is still a gift. Ecclesiastes stands as proof that honesty before God is never wasted. Even a king who lost his way could still point generations toward truth. So as we close this episode, I leave you with this thought. Solomon's wisdom was never the problem. His downfall came when he stopped applying it. May we learn from his rise, his fall, and his final words, so that our own last days can be marked by faithfulness rather than regret. Thank you for watching Bible Storybook. If this story spoke to you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more biblical journeys that inspire, challenge, and bring Scripture to life.